I want to start this off by saying if you're anything like me, you probably get overwhelmed by anything. I think that I'm just the kind of person that, I get very overwhelmed. If I do anything, it's a lot for me. And, that is why I really take time to develop and understand my inner world, because it's so important. And it gives me a sense of stability, and it gives me a place that I can always return to when things get overwhelming. And it's not always that it's overwhelming in a bad way. It's just that sometimes, if you're like me, it can be a lot. Even when good things are happening, even if it's just a lot of things happening, or you're just getting busy, I definitely get overwhelmed, for sure. And my mind's in 100 different places, and then I kind of lose that sense of knowing that I had. And I shouldn't say I don't lose it, but I guess I wanted to make something really quick about what to never forget. And this is something that I forget sometimes, but I have to keep reminding myself over and over. It's very easy to get hypnotized by life. And I was thinking that the other day. And I don't want to put too much pressure on myself in this video. I think I've put 2 other little videos where I was speaking. And it's so funny because my first one I was talking about how to release judgment. And then it's just funny how sometimes you forget these things, or not forget them, but they slip away sometimes when you get so transfixed on what's going on outside of you and all these things happening and what you're perceiving to happen and everything else, that you can get caught up in that. At least I can. And then I will sometimes, by old habit, fall into a period where I start judging myself harshly again, and listening to my recordings and thinking that's not good enough. I didn't say anything good in that video, etc. And it's hilarious because I have no I have 1 subscriber, and either way, it wouldn't matter if I had a ton or if I had none. It's about the standard, I guess, you can hold yourself to. And it's not even like a standard. I feel like it's more of just like, for me, I know it's not a standard. It's a negative judgment thing. And, and what I meant to say is, what am I forgetting? That's really the point of this, what I want to talk about. I'm forgetting that I'm free inside of my own mind. Inside of myself, I'm completely free to do whatever I want, to feel whatever I want. And this kind of occurred to me because I've been so busy, because I've had so much going on, that I've become overwhelmed by everything. And I've kind of forgotten that I can choose what matters. And I can choose, because I'm the one who's writing this story. And I try to remind myself that it's very easy for us, just because I think, I should say, I can only speak for myself. It's easy for me to get into a habit where I find myself thinking that I'm a character in someone's play. Someone else wrote my story, and I'm just the character in it, and I don't get to choose anything that happens. Somebody else wrote this story, and things are just happening to me. But that's not true. And the reality is that anything can happen in my day, and I can decide that didn't matter. And I was writing about it, so I'm probably going to read some of what I wrote down. It's just funny, too. I also thought of the idea of sorting the imagination. Imagination is an infinite place, obviously, and it's within every person. And I think that, at least for myself, and I can safely assume that this is the case for many others, or maybe everybody, I don't know. I find that simply the amount of things going on in my imagination, or I shouldn't say, I don't mean imagination in a childish way. I mean imagination, the inner world is what I'm talking about. Obviously, I think for everybody, there's a lot going on, but I for myself, I can feel when it's almost like it needs to be cleaned out. It's like, okay, too much is in here. I'm thinking this, that. I have now taken on these concepts of myself. I've taken these judgments on. I need to go in there and clean it out, because I'm allowing something that happened, or I'm allowing myself to give in to the urge and the temptation to judge myself. It's so seducing to want to just judge myself. It just feels so normal, feels so natural, because it's what I've done my whole life. I'm used to it. It's what feels safe to me. It's how I try to make myself better, but it doesn't make me any better. It just makes me feel bad, and it's demotivating to me, or I should say unmotivating. And so I just wanted to, I guess, read some of what I wrote about it. I'm just going to read exactly what I wrote down. And yeah, I wrote, I remember that I'm free inside of my mind. I remember that I'm the writer and that I get to choose what matters. But where does the story get written? Within. And that is where I'm completely and utterly free. So when I say that no matter what happened today, not only did it come from me, but since it did, I can choose whether it mattered or it can be discarded. And you cannot tell me I'm wrong. How can you tell me what to do within? So I realize all I have to do is go within and choose what matters and discard what I choose to discard. That is my freedom, and nobody can dictate what I do within. This is a power I have all the time, whether I misuse it or not. So I must stop misusing it and become completely free inside. I might have misused the power for a while, but I do not condemn myself. I just take my freedom, which was never lost, back, and I get back to writing. I went more in depth with it before. I'm done reading it now. I had actually gone deeper into it a couple days before that, because I had started to feel extremely exhausted and overwhelmed. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And I think that throughout my day, I would just, when I was unable to, write or record anything, I was just thinking in my head, I need to sort my imagination. It's completely out of whack. This is why I feel so drained and overwhelmed, because I don't even know what I think I am anymore. I don't even know who I think I am anymore. I don't even know myself anymore. And, the past year I had developed a very strong sense of self, a strong sense of who I was. And I think that led me somewhere good. And now things are sort of happening quickly, but I'm like almost getting sucked into this vortex of things and not remembering, not coming back to the core of everything, which is myself. And I mean self. I don't just mean me as a person, the person speaking. I mean self. The one within, really. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at what I wrote here and trying to see if something I said here was something worth saying. Well, here's another thing I wrote that might be useful in some way. I wrote, I have an idea of who I am. I can see it, and often, at times I feel it, but there's so many doubts. And I wrote, no worries, it's fine. I just remove them. I ease into knowing. It might take a little time, but what's the harm in that? Nothing. Then I wrote, the truth is it's easier to tense up fear and worry than it is to relax. I write my own story and I decide what matters. I'm not a character in someone's play. I am the playwright. I am the dreamer, and I as the dreamer choose. And then I wrote, choose what? Well, I choose what matters to me. Anything can happen in my day, and I can choose whether it matters or whether it means nothing. It can be completely discarded in my mind. Yeah, and that's kind of what I wrote. But I wrote, I've always been the playwright. This is the part that I wrote, and I'm gonna read what I wrote again. This is the part where I said something that I kept rereading because I really was like, this makes sense to me. I wrote, I am the playwright and I am a solo writer. Everything else, figments of imagination, seeming random in nature, meaning the things happening around you, around me. And then I wrote, in parentheses, they are pretty random, to be discarded or held to matter, just like my thoughts can be discarded and held to matter. Because I think that with my thoughts, it's easy for me to say, well, that thought doesn't matter, which it wasn't always easy for me to do that either, because so many of us are just completely unfree within ourselves. As Edward always says, it's like you're a slave within your own mind. And that's exactly what I had gone through. And, and Edward always says, you are the dreamer. And I remember he used to say that. I didn't really understand what he meant. I would watch that. He had a particular video about that, and I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I will put it in the description, where he just says, I'm the dreamer. And he talks about that. And, it's just so brilliant. And it's crazy because anytime that I feel overwhelmed, I can come back to those videos and I can just, everything makes sense again. And it's crazy. I've truly found, I can honestly say I've found something, in particularly Edward's work that I could have never found in this world. Something that I can't even explain. And honestly, I can't even explain it. What that did for me. And what I mean by that is just, going within and seeing this whole world within yourself. And it really is a whole world. And we're just not even, so many people are just not even aware of it. And one of my favorite things that, Edward said, which he said was actually something that William Blake had said, was that you can think of your eyes as windows. So you're seeing through your eyes, not with your eyes. So that implies that you're not your body. You're not this physical vessel that you're in. You're something deeper than that. You're something more than that. And it's just a relief to be able to say, I can, if I choose, I can let go of everything if I choose. And honestly, again, I know I mentioned so much Edward. I try not to, but it happens. I shouldn't say I try not to. I guess it's more like, if I want to, I try to explain it, in my own terms the best I can. I just can't help but mention a lot of his work because it's just the basis on my own understanding, really, of life. But what was I getting at there? I completely forgot. Oh, he has a meditation called I'm the Creator meditation, and he says something in it that I would repeat to myself just throughout the day sometimes. But he would say, the outside world no longer exists. I'm just here now. And just letting go of all of it. And I think that, especially letting go of it when you, if you are someone who's going to go in there and imagine something intentionally, which I suggest you do. I mean, it's a good thing to do, of course. And I've done it, and it's never failed. It's never failed once. Never failed once. And I think that this is my whole point in this video, is that I forget to use it. And I shouldn't say I forget to use it. I'm always using it. You're always using it. I'm always imagining. And even when I said, things that are happening are random. They're not random. But when what's going on within me is random, then there you go. And so that was why I said sorting the imagination. It needed to be sorted. I was just getting so caught up in everything in such a backwards way, where it's so funny how it's all backwards. I was overwhelmed by what's going on outside of me. Where did that originate? And how did I end up in a place where I was somewhat unstable within and unbalanced within and unorganized within? You know, it's the opposite. It's really all backwards. And I just remind myself now, I am the writer. I don't have to judge myself. I don't have to. And I always remind you can take, if you never watch an Edward Art video in your life, if you just never do, the one thing that he said that I will always carry with me, which I'll carry more than just this with me, but I know this I might get in a little bit into the metaphysical. I get nervous saying anything, certain things, just because I don't really know. Fear and fear of judgment, really, which is the whole point of me speaking, so it's kind of ironic. But my favorite thing he's ever said that I live by on some level is God does not judge by appearances. And I love that he says that, and he always says, you can't lie to God. And what he really means by that is you can't pretend externally. It doesn't get you anywhere if you internally don't, if you're not that internally. And it's not just that. It's more like, I would always think if God does not judge by appearances, so I can things can look however they look, but it doesn't mean I can't have something, is my point. I can be wherever in my life. I can be as inadequate as possible externally in every single way. I don't have anything externally. What if I was completely inadequate? It doesn't matter, because I'm not judged by that. I remind myself of that constantly. And then I'm able to just let go. And I'm able to stop trying to control my behavior so much, to a point where I feel like I'm going to have a mental breakdown. And there's no need for it. It doesn't even make any sense. And when I talk about these things, when I just come back to myself, I feel just good. And I hope that something I said made some sort of sense. I guess, yeah, the whole point of this is never forget that you're the writer here. Never forget that you can choose what matters and what doesn't. And never forget that you're free inside. I remember that I am free. I am free. That thing happened I didn't like today. I don't have to feel anything about it. I can leave it. I can leave it out there and just not take it with me into tomorrow. It could sound crazy to some people, I don't know. My videos are not for everyone, and they're not even videos. Like I said, I'm not trying to even really do anything with these. It's just because I'm recording, really documenting my own inner discoveries and sharing them. That's all I'm doing. I don't really have a point to doing this. I don't know. It was very random that I started doing it, and then I all of a sudden kind of felt like, why don't I create a space for myself where I can speak if I want to, and no one has to listen to it, but I just have the space for it if I want it. And it doesn't matter who hears it. It doesn't matter if anyone cares or if anyone believes me, or if it's not even about believing me, I guess, but it doesn't matter if anyone agrees with me, it doesn't even matter. because I'm doing it for myself. And yeah, I guess. Not I guess, I know. Well, I know that I'm doing it for myself, but I guess that I'm learning to remember that I'm free. No matter what's going on, things can be as chaotic as possible. Externally, it can be the most chaotic thing in the world happening, craziest things happening, most overwhelming things happening. I just personally, I get overwhelmed very easily and very quickly. I can handle things. It's not that I can't handle things. It's just that internally, I'm pretty introverted in general and pretty reserved and pretty, I like my space and time for myself. And when I don't get that, I get backed up. My imagination gets backed up. It really does. I have to sort it. I have to organize it, and I have to clear it, and I have to stay focused and remove what doesn't matter, remove anything I might have picked up, any conceptions of myself I might have picked up, any judgments of myself that I might have picked up from others. It can happen. You can kind of feel someone judging you, or you can even have them directly judging you, which has happened to me, both things. And you just say, I don't want that, so I'm not going to do that, because I'm the one who's choosing here. And you can almost think of it like, this is a really funny analogy that kind of just popped in my head. You can think of it like you're a screenwriter. Let's say you're a screenwriter, and you have a bunch of people sending unsolicited, ideas for your production company or something. Are you gonna open all of them? Are you gonna open every single one and then put it in your screenplay? What's your screenplay gonna look like? It's gonna be the most chaotic, all over the place screenplay in the world, and you're not gonna feel good about it because it's not yours, and it didn't originate from you, and you didn't create it, and you don't feel anything about it. It's no different when other people give you their opinions about you, and you just naturally take them on. It's not natural. It can be natural. I mean, my point in saying it's not natural is it's not the way it should be. You have the power to decide. You have the power to choose. You have the freedom to choose. We all do. It's why we're here. I wrote that too. I said that is the whole point. You wouldn't be a human being having a human life experience if you could not choose. If you could not choose inside yourself. You can always choose. That's actually, I kind of did make a video about this previously, called The Room of Self. I kind of went into this similar topic, but it's really true. And it's something, clearly, I have to keep reminding myself. It comes up, I've mentioned before, kind of my line of work, I guess, and it's could be an incredibly overwhelming, chaotic environment, especially for someone as introverted as I can be. It's not to say that I don't like being around people, but I just can't be that. I can be introverted. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, if anyone else is like that. But anyway, that's kind of what I want to say. I think that's everything. And I hope that it might have brought you some kind of value